Tonight on BBC London, a special programme on the eve of the 8th anniversary of the Grenfell fire. A poignant time for this community as they prepare for the tower to soon be dismantled, but there are differing views on what should happen next.
I don't think there's ever going to be any good time for doing this, but I think the sooner that is done, the sooner they can put this memorial in its place.
My personal view is that the tower shouldn't come down until justice is served.
We'll have more on those calls for justice and the police investigation into the fire. Plus, the views of the Grenfell generation who have grown up in the shadow of the tower.
There's been many words, but not many actions.
Our voice is important in things that need to be changed.
Hello and good evening. You join us in North Kensington ahead of a poignant Grenfell anniversary tomorrow, because this is the last one when we will see the tower standing as it is today, because later this year it will begin to be carefully dismantled and then work will begin to create a more permanent memorial. And there are differing views about that, which we will hear shortly. But I just want to reflect on the mood here today, because this really is a community here for each other, providing space and support for reflection and remembrance on this anniversary weekend. And today we have seen parents and children coming by, planting flowers, reading poetry, and the community group Space Youth released 18 butterflies, one for every child who died in the fire that June night. And actually, I want to start with some of the young people living here who have grown up in the shadow of the tower, and it's affected their lives in many ways. So how are they feeling ahead of this anniversary? Here is Serena, Noha and Nathan.
I was stood with my father, like many other people were in the streets. There were firefighters, policemen, ambulances. Looking up and just seeing like the tower engulfed in flames is just, I can never forget that. I was just 7 years old.
I remember waking up to the sound of helicopters. I looked outside the window to see what was happening and I was confused. And I go to the living room and I find my mom watching the news and she's crying on the phone to one of her friends in the tower at the time. I was 8 years old and living close to the tower.
To me, Isaac was my best friend and he lived in Grenfell Tower. I remember it was a normal night and I was just asleep, and then I got woken up to my mum screaming on the phone, and obviously I was really worried. Unfortunately, he passed away in Grenfell Tower at 5 years old, and I was 6 years old.
Going to school every day and walking home, I'd obviously see Grenfell Tower very clearly. It just gives me this ominous feeling. It feels very unusual. It's kind of hard to describe. It's like a ghost.
For the past 8 years, I've been going to school next to the tower, so it's been difficult. I felt very supported by the community, staff at school. My community centre had therapists that we could speak to.
Isaac was a brother to me, basically. He was with me every day. I had someone who I can do my homework with, play football with. And to just lose someone like that at such a young age is so disappointing. I do feel really sad, and I still feel it to this day.
In terms of the youth, impacted us a lot because opportunities reduced and there weren't many programs or clubs for us running anymore.
The general feeling I sensed from the community was obviously they grew stronger, but I could sense the frustration and anger that they felt.
We've lived through trauma, through grief and through years of waiting. On the 2nd of June, I read a statement at Parliament. For young people like me, what comes next matters a lot. I spoke as a community resident. It's really important to hold people accountable and to start initiatives to improve and help this community.
Our voice is important in things that need to be changed, like social housing and the well-being of residents in general.
My aspirations is to keep the Grenfell legacy alive and to keep Isaac in our hearts and the 72 other people who died in the Grenfell Tower.
Across these 8 years after the Grenfell fire, there's been many words, but not many actions. So I think it's very important things finally start to happen and justice for these 72 people that died in Grenfell Tower finally reaches us and for everyone to have peace.
Poignant words there. Our huge thanks to Serena, Noha and Nathan. Now, I mentioned that this particular anniversary evokes emotions about the timing of the deconstruction of the tower due to begin in the autumn. Aisha Baksh has been hearing from bereaved relatives, survivors and local residents about their hopes and concerns for the future.
When I look up there, it's funny, it takes me right back to looking out the window, just admiring the views.
Bernie's brother Ray lived on the top floor of Grenfell Tower for over 30 years.
It's my brother's resting place. As you know, he was cremated in that building.
On the night of the fire, the 63-year-old, also known as Moses, sheltered several of his neighbours and died with them in his flat.
I understand that resting place will be disturbed, but it should be disturbed respectfully and not taken away completely.
72 people died as a result of the fire 8 years ago, including 18 children. The government have said the building must now come down, and in just a few months the 23 stories will be dismantled, floor by floor, to the ground.
I can't see why a few more years could make a difference for them not to start the demolition. It's going to destroy a lot of people. It's going to destroy families. It's going to destroy people who want to see justice. And every time we look at the building, we look at the tower, we think, yes, you know, we will get our justice one day.
And for survivors of the fire, such as Tiago Alves, who escaped with his family, that pending demolition makes this anniversary all the more poignant.
My personal view is that the tower shouldn't come down until justice is served. To me, it's going to be incredibly difficult. This is going to be the last anniversary where we have the tower standing. For some people, this is a crime scene. For other people, it's a place where their loved ones have passed. For me personally, it's a place where, you know, my childhood basically went up in flames.
Munira Mahmood also lived in Grenfell Tower, and her family was some of its first residents. Her closest friend, Rania Ibrahim, died in the fire, along with Rania's young daughters, Fetia and Hania.
It is difficult. Some days you just go sit down there and just cry and look at it, and you think, okay, they can hear me, the souls that were lost in there, my friend can hear me. We know eventually that tower will come down, but what we are fighting for, what we want for, what we're yearning for, you know, that good news is the justice. Bring that, you know, those responsible, prosecution, and then, you know, at least we deserve that.
Some local residents who see the tower every day are less keen for it to stay as it is.
I don't think there's ever going to be any good time for doing this, but I think the sooner that is done, the sooner they can put this memorial in its place, because, you know, it's not as if by dismantling the tower everything is going to be forgotten. It's never going to be forgotten. It's not one of those out of sight, out of mind, because the memory of Grenfell is so imprinted in everyone's heart and soul. It's not easy to, it will never be erased.
It's not yet been decided what the memorial will be. Sandra Ruiz sits on an independent commission, and along with other families, survivors and residents, she's been researching different possibilities. Her niece Jessica Urbano Ramirez died in the fire just weeks before her 13th birthday.
She, I would hope, would be thriving and learning and living life to the full. She's not here, and therefore that's why the memorial is so important to the families, for those children and the adults that were lost in that time, but also, you know, for the loss felt by the survivors, their friends, their families and their local community. It's important to keep those memories alive.
The government say Grenfell Tower will be carefully and sensitively taken down. During that time, families, survivors and local people, though, must continue their wait for justice. Aisha Baksh, BBC London.
Well, Demel Carriol has kindly joined us, whose cousin Mary Mendy and her daughter Khadija Say died in the fire. You're from the group Humanity for Grenfell, which supports bereaved families and survivors. It's really good of you to be with us here on BBC London. Understandably, as we've heard there, people have differing views about the future of the tower. Will this anniversary feel different for you?
Well, what I have to say first of all is that it's a real devastation. I mean, every time the anniversary comes around, people might think that the feeling will erode and, you know, the pain will subside. But especially standing here at the base of the tower, everything just comes back. And it's a daily fight because, as everybody knows, we haven't had justice yet. So that doubles the pain. So this is like, here we are back again with the 12 times table.
I can hear it in your voice. Can I ask, there hasn't been a decision yet on the permanent memorial and what it would be. In your mind, what would a fitting memorial be?
For the tower, for me, the initial thing is, I don't want the tower to come down at all. That's the first thing. And the reason I say that is because it is a reminder. There's global warming that people are worried about, but Grenfell Tower is a global warning. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But when you really look at it, can it stay up forever? It can't. So I think the floors that may be compromised may be coming down, but leave a part of it up to the 10th floor maybe, and have a structure artistically and a monument that goes with it as tall as the tower was. So this warning to the world is still there, visible for everyone to see.
As I say, I can hear the emotion and the passion of how you feel about that. I know that you're also helping to organise some of the memorial events tomorrow. Tell me why that is so important to you.
Well, it's a remembrance day. It's like you have your wedding anniversary, your birthday. It comes around each year. This is a sad event, a tragic event that happened the 14th of June. So every year we have to remember and recognise it and call out the names as a community. This is the community undivided. On that day in particular, everyone comes out and people travel from around the world to come and join and commune with us as a community. So it's very important to have these memorial days.
Just before I leave you, can I ask, Demel, a word to describe both Mary and Khadija?
Well, from Gambia, empathy and peace is our watchword. And Mary would always stop whatever she's doing to look after you when you go and visit her. If she hasn't cooked, she will cook. As far as Khadija's concerned, thankfully, she is one of the great British artists. She is being recognised as that. But imagine if she was still alive, what she could achieve. Fantastic people.
Demel, thank you so much. I wish you a peaceful weekend, I really do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being with us. That's Demel Carriol there joining us. Well, a little way from here at the local mosque, today's weekly Friday prayers felt perhaps more significant ahead of tomorrow's 8th anniversary, and that is where we can join Assad right now. Hi there.
Yeah, Riz, I was at the Al-Manar Centre earlier this afternoon for the Friday prayers. I'm now at the Clement James's Centre, which belongs to the local church, just a stone's throw away from the Grenfell Tower. They have a peace garden behind me. This part of the garden is where members of the community come together. They plant seeds. There's tomato, herbs, raspberries, gooseberries, lavender even. And they signify seeds of hope for the future. Hope which was also reflected at the Al-Manar Centre this afternoon, where prayers were said for those who died during the Grenfell Tower, for survivors, for families as well. And there was also words said for the people who came together to show incredible unity at that time, and a call for people to stay that way even now. Here's a clip from it.
Although it was a tragedy, but it also showed the bright side of our community. And this particular community was there. The masjid opened the doors. This was an example of the solidarity and support and the cohesion of the Muslim community and the local community.
Yeah, call for unity as we go into the future. Now, somebody who volunteered on the night of the Grenfell fire at the Al-Manar Centre is now chairman of the Al-Manar Centre. Qasim Ali, Councillor Qasim Ali, also from Kensington and Chelsea Council, head of the Labour group there. That night changed your life, I think it's fair to say?
It is indeed. It has indeed. But most I would say, really devastating way. It has changed the lives of the people who have lost their lives and the people who have now still suffering because of the victims of the fire. So yes, it has as a community. It's what I have seen that night on the fire night, where I was coming from the mosque. You were there this afternoon, and what I have seen will always remain in my head. I can never get rid of it. I can never erase from my memory. Children crying, cannot help them. The police officers were there. The support office. It was just something that I will never want to experience, and anyone, even my worst enemy, to experience what I have seen that night.
No, and I can only imagine. But when we talk about how the area reacted, Al-Manara Mosque opening its doors to everybody, not just Muslims, to everybody, and it still does today. The churches, like the one we're at now, Clement James, opening its doors for everybody. What I see happening here over the years is not only exemplary for London, it seems it's exemplary for the entire world.
Indeed, indeed, and that's exactly what we have done. When we come from the mosque that night, fateful night, what we've done, we came back again, we saw the morning, and we stayed up all day, 24 hours. The center was up in the church. Now, this is again another reference. I was in the mosque earlier, and now I'm the chair of the biggest Islamic trust in Kensington and Chelsea, and I'm now in the church talking to you because of what happened, because of Grenfell, because of our community. We have been united. Because of the lack of leadership the council and the government would have provided, we, the community, provided that, and that actually altered my life. And because of I became a local politician, and I made sure that justice to be found to be served for the community that have lost their loved ones.
Councillor Qasim Ali, thank you so much, and I know we're going to look to the future now. Indeed. As the tower comes down later this year. Well, services, prayers, reflections are taking place in the church here at the Al-Manara Centre at various community locations around North Kensington this weekend. Back to you, Riz.
Asad, thank you. Well, I'm joined now by Aisha Baksh. Aisha, you've spent a lot of time here at Grenfell and with the community. Can you briefly talk about, what has and hasn't been decided? Because as we've heard, the sensitive issue of dismantling the tower, the government says will begin in the autumn. But what hasn't been decided is what the permanent memorial in its place will be.
Well, as you heard Demel there talk about the tower, the anguish that decision has caused, and some people are asking why now? Well, the government, who we have asked for interviews, not just over this but over other Grenfell-related issues, declined our request, but they sent us various bits of information. We've said, we've read that the tower is being currently propped up from the basement to the roof. The worst fire damage is above 10 floors, and that's why some families are asking the Deputy Prime Minister reconsider her decision and keep some of the tower above the first 10 floors, or perhaps just the reception. How will it come down? Well, we've been told by the government it will be done sensitively, respectfully. It will come down floor by floor, all behind the existing white hoarding, and the Forever in Our Hearts banner will stay in place. When will it begin? In September, we've been told, and it will take 2 years from then.
Aisha, of course, we will be following those developments closely. Thank you so much. That's Aisha Baksh, who spent a lot of time with the community here in Grenfell. And a key part, as we've heard time and time again, of being able to move forward for so many people here is that word justice or accountability. Yes, we have had the public inquiry, which said that all the 72 deaths were preventable. Now comes the criminal investigation. So we leave you from here in North Kensington with more on that, the latest and the timeline, from our Home Affairs correspondent, Sonia Jessup.
8 years on from the fire, there have been no prosecutions, no charges. So why is that? And what happens next? Well, it's one of the most complex investigations in policing history. Inside this warehouse, tens of thousands of exhibits from the tower. The Met says it's taken 13,000 witness statements, more than 153 million documents and files, and boosted the investigation team. Remember, they'd also said they needed to wait until after that final public inquiry report was published last year. Now, they're still investigating a range of very serious criminal offences, including corporate manslaughter, gross negligence manslaughter and fraud, as well as health and safety offences. They're planning to submit files on 20 separate organisations or companies and individual suspects to the Crown Prosecution Service, so it can then make a charging decision. But the timetable for that has slipped. The force had hoped it would be done by spring next year. Now we're looking at autumn 2026. Well, in a statement, Deputy Assistant Commissioner Stuart Cundy told us it is critical that we take great care to get this investigation right, ensuring that we work as quickly as possible without compromising the quality of what we do. So calls for justice from survivors and bereaved continue, but it will be at least 10 years on from the fire before anyone potentially faces a criminal trial.
Some other news now, and more details are emerging as some of those people who lost their lives in the Air India disaster. 241 people died, including 53 Britons, when a Gatwick-bound plane crashed in India. Tributes have been paid to Javed Syed and his wife Mariam from West London, along with their 2 young children. Ramesh Hirani and another couple, Fingal and Jamie Greenlaw-Meek, who ran a spiritual wellness centre in London, were also on board. Wendy Hurrell has more.
There might have been family reunions, a welcome home from friends, new beginnings. Instead, a cloud covers communities in London, interwoven with those in India.
The shock is profound. For all the Gujarati community, it was a black day. It was really a dull black day for the whole of India as well.
At the Kingsbury Temple in Brent, a candle flickers for each life lost, including Ramesh Hirani, a relative of a trustee here.
I know of at least 5 people who have perished. A family comprising a grandmother, a son and a grandson, and 2 other individuals. My cousin's son passed away. So there is not anyone here who would not know of anyone who was in the plane and has perished.
Just boarding. Goodbye, India.
Fingal Greenlaw-Meek and his husband Jamie, who ran a spiritual wellness centre in London, were killed when the plane crashed.
Sweetest couple I've met, really sweet, lovely people. I just cannot process that I'm not gonna see them again. I feel they went before their time, and it's just tragic, not just for them, but for everyone on board of that plane. Rest in peace.
Also on board the Gatwick-bound flight was Javed Syed and his wife Mariam from West London. They died along with their 2 young children. At the Laxminarayan Temple in Hounslow, they gathered to pray, seek solace together. And in West London, a show of collective grief.
Southall is known as Little India. It has massive connections to every community in India, every state in India. And people started saying, look, we should do something very quickly outside Southall Town Hall. We need to show our solidarity and our sympathy and our empathy with people who've lost their lives.
So many London people affected, all hoping for answers to what happened on that Air India flight that ended in such tragedy. Wendy Hurrell, BBC London.
And you can find more coverage on that developing story, of course, on our website, bbc.co.uk/London. A look at some more of today's news in brief now. A jury has been hearing evidence about the background of a man accused of carrying out a sword attack in Hainault last April. Marcus Arduni Monzo is accused of murdering 14-year-old Daniel Angerin and the attempted murder of 4 others. The Old Bailey heard Monzo had a history of using cannabis and taking psychedelics. He denies the charges against him. More than 12,000 applications to the ULEZ scrappage scheme have been rejected due to suspected fraud, according to data from City Hall. The scheme was introduced in 2023 with the aim of taking more polluting vehicles off the streets. Analysis shows 1 in 6 requests were turned down as there was a suspicion of fraud. And Barking and Dagenham College had some Hollywood sparkle this afternoon when former drama student turned film star Idris Elba was honoured with a MOBO Award. The special paving stone at the college marks where he first started out with a BTEC in Performing Arts. Well, it was a lovely day for that and for the rest of London as well, I think. Let's get a check on that weather. Here's Ben Rich.
Evening, certainly a very warm and indeed a very humid day across the capital with some sunny spells, but a bit of cloud did start to develop through the day, a sign of what is to come. There is a Met Office amber warning that's been issued for thunderstorms. Now, as you can see, this amber warning really does only affect the very east of our area, parts of Essex and Kent. But in this area, we're expecting some very, very intense thunderstorms, hail, gusty winds, a lot of rain in a short space of time. But more broadly across the London area, we do have this yellow warning from the Met Office, the risk of flooding and disruption from these thunderstorms, which have been taking shape to the south of us. This is the satellite and radar picture over the last few hours. You can see those showers and storms drifting out of France, moving northwards across the English Channel, and now just about knocking on the doorsteps of South London and through this evening. Look at these bright colours, some really vicious downpours, some thunder and lightning, hail, squally winds, but by tomorrow morning, the worst of it will have cleared. It is going to be another one of those very warm and muggy nights. We're looking at temperatures around 15, 16, 17 degrees. Now, we could well see some showers first thing tomorrow morning, still potentially the odd heavy thundery one, but then things should tend to brighten up. We'll see some good spells of sunshine through the day, 1 or 2 passing showers. Some of those could be on the heavy side, and a slightly fresher feel. Still warm, still highs of 23, 24 degrees, but just losing some of the humidity that we've had during today. Now into the second half of the weekend, actually a fair amount of dry weather around on Sunday, some spells of sunshine. Again, the chance of 1 or 2 passing showers, probably not particularly heavy. Many places likely to stay dry, and sticking with that slightly fresher feel, 21 to 23 degrees at best. Now, taking a look a little bit further ahead into the start of next week, well, high pressure actually starts to build again from the south, and that means a lot of dry weather in the outlook. In fact, after we've lost the thunderstorms this evening and tonight, many places are going to stay dry over the next few days, and actually after a fresher weekend, it is set to turn warmer again during next week. But do bear in mind, if you're travelling tonight, those severe downpours and thunderstorms. Victoria.
Go ahead, Ben. Thanks very much indeed. OK, yeah, that's about it. We will have coverage of all the events being held tomorrow to mark the 8th anniversary of the Grenfell fire on our website, bbc.co.uk/London, and of course on our radio station, BBC Radio London as well. We'll be here later with our 10:30 programme, but for now, we wish you good night.